In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers,
the lowest of all entertainment.
A comics industry business podcast with
the scummiest of the scum, the lowest of the low, the stinkiest of the stinky.
Well, hello, Dale. Dale Bush.
And Poppy, Patrick Brower.
Well, Dal, I've just learned something terrible that has basically ruined the rest of the year.
The remainder of 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of year left, but that's fine.
It's still ruined.
Yeah, several days.
Ariel Free
Yes.
is DJing at Radius tonight.
What is Radius?
Radius is a club over near Chinatown.
Got it. Okay.
It's sold out.
Ooh.
Also, doors don't open until 10, and there's like 8 people listed as performing,
God.
and she's smack dab in the middle.
So this is basically a thing where she would go on at like 1 a.m.
Probably. Now, there are tickets available on the resale market, starting at $130.
Ooh.
And
for
also,
a DJ set, is that a lot?
A DJ set is probably half hour.
Sure.
I mean, the DJ that opened for Kim Petras was maybe 25 minutes.
Sure.
I assume the way the acts are listed, someone named Fisher is the headliner.
Okay.
And then I think everything underneath is descending. So she's like 4th on the list, so like right in the middle.
Oh, so she's not like the headliner.
No.
She's just
Yeah.
part of the undercard.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, sometimes the undercard matches are important and good.
For sure. I always watch 0 Hour for AEW pay-per-views. You never know when it's going to be good.
It's just that I thought that she and I had the kind of relationship where she would tell me she was in town.
Obviously, she should have probably just texted you directly. But does she have like a social media where she says like, "Hey, I'm going places. I'm going
Well,
places"?
I found out she's in town because she posted 3 hours ago her in front of street signs in Chicago, and I'm like, what?
So there was nothing prior to this where she's like, "Hey," and I'm not going to do the accent, obviously,
Well,
even though I know
she's
it.
been
I
off
can
the
do
air
it.
since before Christmas,
Uh-huh.
As is the majority of the headliners for BBC Radio 1.
Sure, which is fairly standard.
Yeah. Yeah, except good old Jordan North, who's he always works Christmas Day.
Yep.
Good for him. So anyway. Yeah, I found out Ariel Free is in town right now.
Okay. Well, I guess that'll explain why you'll be very pessimistic this episode. That's the only conclusion that can be drawn. It's because of
let's
Ariel
face
Free.
it, this is the worst thing that's happened to me all week.
It's true. Yeah.
Moving on, I'm going to talk about my dad. My parents, really.
Okay.
Now, when...
Did your parents ever like comic books?
My dad had a very small collection of Classics Illustrateds growing up. Yeah, which we didn't learn until much later, that Classic Illustrateds had been reprinted dozens of times.
Oh my God.
And his were just reprints.
Sure. So standard, like, we had these old comics. These old comics are worth nothing.
They're worth all the entertainment they gave him as a boy.
But your mom was never like Harvey or Archie or
No.
whatever.
No, comics were not a...
Okay.
They were not a comic family.
No.
So they weren't... my mom especially wasn't super thrilled when I got into comics as a career.
Sure.
In any facet of it.
And then the tattoos.
And
so,
then,
I mean, just...
And then, when I was quitting my fairly stable, although non-challenging and, let's face it, underpaid full-time job, to open a store, I had to... twice in my life, I had to, like, take my mom out to a public place to give
so she couldn't make a scene.
To make big news. Not make a scene, just not get upset. So I took them out to lunch to talk about challengers.
Sure.
And one of my selling points was there's no comic shop like this in Chicago. And I think that there is room for a store that's going to do what we're going to do.
I hope they're successful.
And my dad was very practical and said, as good as your store is going to be, you don't know the financial realities of any other store.
No.
You don't know who's independently wealthy. You don't know who got a ton of money from a will. You don't know who's being bankrolled by other people.
Sure. Or there's a lot of people in the comics industry, both creatively and within the retail community, who have basically said, like, if it wasn't for my
Spouse's full-time job
with a full-time job and healthcare and all these other things, I would not be able to do this.
So my dad was very practical and trepidatious about it, but the two of them just went all in helping us.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially the week before we opened, they were there.
They did the new release backer cards.
That was my mom and Samantha.
Gluing those down.
Yeah, and taping the backs. I've got some specific photos of my dad that first week, the 0 week, the pre-week. Sorry, it's a podcast, so yawning is required.
Yep.
But one of they bought us pizza for 2 of those days. When there was a dedicated pizza shop next to us. But
they came to some of the early parties?
Well, but specifically that first week, one of the main story I remember of my dad is a building inspector came in. We didn't know they were coming.
Sure.
It was an older gentleman, and he's walking around and makes a list, and he had a long list of things that were wrong with the store. Do you remember this?
I don't, really.
Okay.
It sounds familiar, though.
Yeah. And it would cost a ton of money to fix them. And my dad started arguing with him. And I'm like, oh no, shit, don't ruin this. This guy's going to fuck us up.
This is going to be even worse.
And my dad is arguing with him. And my dad basically throws him out of the store. Not physically. Right. He doesn't touch him. But he tells him to get the fuck out of the store. And I'm like, what did you just do? And my dad turned to me. He goes, it's a scam. He just wanted a kickback.
Oh, nice.
He just wanted to be bribed. That's all it was.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything wrong. Your store is fine. And nothing ever came of it.
No, he was just looking for a kickback.
Because my dad was right.
Yeah.
And I was scared that my dad was ruining the business. He's like, no, this dude is a con artist.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And I'm on the precipice of starting my own business.
Yes.
And in charge of all these decisions. And my dad immediately showed me that you still have a lot to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as you said, they both came to a lot of the early parties and got to meet a lot of people from the store.
Yeah.
And my dad was the kind of guy that any room he walked into, he either knew somebody already or he had a new friend by the time he left.
Sure. Gregarious, I think is what we call it.
Yeah. Larger than life, life of the party.
Sure.
All those things have been bandied around. So, comics.
Yes.
We definitely do have book plates for Where the Body Was.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. How many weeks late?
Oh my god.
So many weeks late.
And they're all in whatever remaining copies of the hardcover that we have, as well as any held copies that people haven't picked up for their subscriptions, and anyone who had picked up a copy of their book either off the shelves or from their subscriptions and asked us to keep a book plate aside for them. It is aside for them.
I have mine already.
You do, it's true.
And I haven't been at the store since they came in. I have mine.
Yep.
Thanks, Dale.
You're welcome. It's very easy to deliver because it is very small and light.
And probably the least amount of effort in a book plate so far from them. But still signed by both.
I mean, it's still a signed book plate, you know?
Yeah.
That's what they promised, and that's what you got.
That's right. I'm not going to complain anymore.
About that. Specifically.
This is a rough episode because we're right at the tail end of the year.
Yeah.
No news has come out.
No, I mean, everyone's basically been off of work for like a week or more.
Yeah, I mean, this is normally the point where DC would try to drop a major bombshell and then go radio silent for 2 weeks and announce...
They're moving back to New York!
Fine, let them. That wouldn't affect us.
They would need to do Convergence 2. And
they
also...
did. It was called Knight.
The remainder of their editorial staff is being fired for not relocating back to New York.
It's so funny to me to look at. Obviously, there's a lot of doom and gloom articles in the industry.
Sure.
And a lot more write-ups now of what's wrong with the industry than ever before. And all of them just point the finger at DC.
I mean, it's fair to say that there's a lot of structural things that happen in the industry because of DC's decisions and then their commitment to those decisions over the last few years. I mean, the FOC thing alone is still continues to be the stupidest thing. It's just DC saying, no, the release day's Tuesday. Nobody wants that. Nobody asked for that. Like, I can't see how it sells DC any more comic books. But that was their decision years ago, and they are just sticking to it for no apparent reason.
I'm going to make a prediction that in 2024 they back off of that and go back to Wednesdays.
I'd hope so. It's fully within their control to just say, okay, we are aligning with the industry standard and we're going to be Wednesdays again. I don't think, again, they wouldn't lose a single sale because of it.
No.
And it would make, like, interacting with them as a company significantly easier and more stress-free.
And forgive me if we talked about this last week, because I don't remember.
Who does?
A lot's happened this week. But I think DC is kind of on fire with their representation of their classic characters.
I like a lot of their books now.
So many of their mainstream superhero books are really good.
Really, really good. Yeah.
From Superman to Batman to Wonder Woman to Green Arrow.
Green Lantern.
Green
Birds of
Lantern.
Prey.
Oh, Birds of Prey and Nightwing, top of the list.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the last time I could just read off that many... Shazam, World's
Shazam's
Finest.
Great. Yeah. And the thing that I'm liking, just as a quick sidebar, the thing I'm liking, especially this week for upcoming releases for DC like Shazam and Birds of Prey, is that even when they have fill-in artists filling in for artists that I really like Leonardo Romero and Dan Mora, like the fill-in artists are pretty good. I don't remember the name of the person who's doing Birds of Prey, but it's stylistically it's a little weird, but it's very cool to look at. And Goran Suzuka is the fill-in artist for Shazam, and I like him a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, with Marvel, it's almost the other way, where you'll start with like these good artists, and then it just slowly becomes worse and worse as it goes along. As
All
the
New
budget
Wolverine
gets
was
reduced.
the best example of that, where it just
I was
each
gonna say
story
All New
arc,
Wolverine. But here's the trick
each story
for All
arc
New
was a
Wolverine,
step down.
is it ended well. Like, they got Juan Cabal for like the last arc.
Yeah.
And it was like, who is this artist that we've never heard of, who then would go on to be the A artist for the next block?
I miss Nick Varela. I don't know what she's doing anymore. I think
did a
she
variant
did,
cover
yeah,
this
she
week.
did a cover. That's all, that's why her name is prevalent in my mind.
Which did not look like her art in the past at all, so I don't know if she's just changing her stuff. But I think she's also doing... It's like a weird 90s homage or something. Okay. So I think it maybe just doing it in that style makes it not look like hers.
But I'm excited for DC books, and that's so weird.
Yeah.
Especially, and it's weird from a company that seems to have gone so far out of its way to hurt everybody.
It's true. And again, like we talked about last time, just be like, oh, we're getting rid of returnability. Great. That was the thing that made us get super invested in your books and take a chance on them. But now we're bringing it back in the worst, most detrimental way possible. Like, thanks for that. Happy New Year.
Yeah. We are doing a tiny little best of social media thing that I came up with yesterday.
It's tough to do, by the way.
You were the first.
I went through every week of releases for 2023 to remind myself of what came out.
Wow. I closed my eyes and visualized the front tables.
So
and then I went back to everybody and said, hey, Dal did a runners-up list, so you should all do runners-up lists as well.
Sorry. The runners-up list was largely just a factor of me trying to figure out a list of things and then...
Whittle it down,
or pick one of those as the best.
Yeah.
But the joke of it is that the one I picked was the first one I wrote down.
Okay.
Because it was the first one I thought of. And then going through everything else made me go, oh, these things. Here's the tricky thing, though, for me specifically. Mm-hmm. Like, basically what it was the best graphic novel of the year.
Yeah.
Trade paperback or original graphic novel.
Your favorite.
Right. The problem is a lot of the stuff that I would think of as my favorite book of the year isn't exactly stuff we carry for the shelf.
Okay.
Like, I don't...
You can't say Knights of the Dinner Table.
Well, I don't want to say...
Because they don't do collections.
They do, Bundles of Trouble.
Those aren't collections. Those are
They are
3
collections,
issues
but I, regardless, we don't carry those for the shelf. The official... what was it? The Marvel Universe by Art Adams Omnibus, which made my runners-up list, is something where it's like, we don't have that for the shelf.
It's out of print.
Yeah,
we can't get it.
We can't get it. If, God forbid I say, that was the best book of the year, and someone's like, cool, and I go,
we already have it on order for someone, and we know we're not going to fill it.
That was the Art of Art Adams book.
Oh, okay.
Which is, again, out of print.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was
it's like,
talking about.
can't get. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that I would normally, that I would buy and take home is stuff that we don't carry for the shelf. It's not the stuff that we would normally want to promote because what's the point?
Well, aside from you, can you guess how many other people have done their list?
Did you do yours?
Yes.
So you.
Okay.
One more.
One more is correct.
Was it Andrew?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't going to make you guess because I
Okay.
didn't want you to get it wrong and then have them be the last person you pick.
Sure.
But since you already said Andrew, do you want to guess? Anyone else? I mean,
Stella.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, those are the ones that I think would have the easiest time coming up with something and going like this, and I'm really excited about it.
Stella also had a parenthetical as to why
Okay.
her runners-up are all on the list.
Okay.
Because they're all DC Kids comics.
That's cool.
And by Kids comics, we mean what became what Zoom and Ink became. They're YA stuff.
Yeah. Ink, I think, was the kids' one. Zoom.
It doesn't matter.
Regardless, I read a thing the other day that one of the top-selling DC books on Amazon is Primer.
Okay.
And not just for kids' books, for all of their DC books. Like, it outsells, like, Watchmen.
Well, the February book club book is Galaxy.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I should probably order some of those then. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So that I can make sure that we have copies in stock
To be fair,
for the book club members.
Margie told me.
Well, thank you, Margie.
But to be fair, Margie posted it on an Instagram story and tagged the store, which is actually how I saw it.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And I already forgot what January is.
January currently is no. Oh wait, no.
Oh yeah, Exterminators.
No, Exterminators is
January. Yeah, Exterminators and then Galaxy.
Right. Yeah, Die was for December, and then Exterminators is January.
Galaxy, who's currently very active in Hawkgirl.
The recently concluded Hawkgirl miniseries.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But I'm seeing all these stores. So a retailer on a group said, "Hey, I want to follow as many of your Instagram accounts." So everyone put their Instagram accounts. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm going through and I'm following a bunch."
Great.
Because it's always a good idea to see what other retailers are doing.
Sure.
And there's some stuff I look at and just think, "Oh, I don't like this page," or this store is not a store. They only press comics, so no thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Or if you're just showing, like I was going through and looking, and if you're just showing comic covers, I'm like, I'm not going to follow this.
No.
I want to see your stores. I want to see
Yeah.
I want to see your layouts. I want to see what you're doing. And I got to tell you, so far, not a whole lot of people do like the video review things that we do.
Yeah.
Not reviews, the recommendations.
Sure. The weekly hype videos.
Yeah. And I always feel bad about those to the extent that we don't plan anything ahead of time. We look at the shelf, start pulling books off, and decide what we're going to say.
Right.
But yours are always so much better than mine.
I disagree with that.
But mine are always more, longer.
Sure. I think yours are way better
Yeah.
than mine.
But I disagree, but I forget like half of the things.
Right.
And even when I'm like, oh, don't forget, you really want to talk about the Mark Twain book, the man who...
Hadley Bird?
Yeah, it was Hadley, but what was I can't remember the part of it, and I
Sure.
forgot it entirely. And then I did a separate video just for it, and then never posted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm often... Now we have the rule that you should just outright correct me. Because I never remember creators' names anymore. It's remembering artists is difficult because there are so many I don't know anymore.
Right. I don't ever want to be on or part of your video unless we talk about it ahead of time. So
Yeah.
the most I will usually do is like shake my head. If you're like, if
Yeah.
you get it wrong, I'd be like,
And then it's my choice to be like, oh, Dal said I got it wrong.
Do you want to correct yourself or do you not want to?
But I also say a lot of wrong things in this podcast as well. I got, I forget what book we were talking about, but for 2 weeks I credited it to the wrong writer.
Sure. And I mean, like the promotional videos on Tuesday nights are mostly just about, showing off the book and being enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
It's not written in advance. It's not fact checked. Like, it's just telling you like, hey, this is a book we're excited about. And here's why. And maybe we're going to get some of the names wrong. Like, we're going to pronounce them wrong, or we're not going to get all of the credits correct, or we're going to exclude people who worked on it. But the point is, this book is coming out tomorrow, and it's good, and you should buy it.
There is a game I want us to play, and I've always wanted to do it, and we could do it semi-regularly, but we need a third person.
Okay.
And
I don't want to do Fortnite, Patrick. It's for children.
it is, it's called Comic in a Box,
Okay.
and you need a host and 2 players.
Okay.
Now, I know how the game works and nobody else does, so I would need to be the host,
Uh-huh.
but I think it would work better if, at least for the first episode, it's you versus me.
Okay.
So the way it works is we're standing on opposite sides of the table. We each have a short box in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
One of those short boxes has a comic book in it, but we don't know which one.
Okay.
So let's say you get to peek in your box, so you know if you have the comic or not.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Then you get to decide. You have to convince me that you do have it or that I have it, and then I get to either keep my box or take your box.
Okay.
And the goal of the game is to end up with the box with the comic.
Okay.
So you know whose box it's in, but I get to decide who gets what box.
Okay.
So it's a bluffing game.
Okay.
So you have to either convince me that you have the book and I want it,
Uh-huh.
or the other way around.
Right. Got it.
So like we each have a power set. Your power
Right.
set is you know where the book is,
Right.
and my power set is I get to decide who gets what box.
Sure.
And that's the whole game.
Okay.
But it could be done so well
Sure.
and so entertaining.
Sure.
And just the especially if it's you versus me, occasionally, and it's always you looking and always me deciding, that means you really have to work at it,
Sure.
because you can't use whatever tactics you used the first time.
No.
But you understand the premise.
I do. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I think it could be really fun,
Okay.
but we need a third person to at least set up the boxes.
Right.
And, to host it.
Right, of course.
But, yeah, it's never, and I wanted to do it for years, and it was going to be me hosting and Gina and then somebody else.
Right.
Just due to who was available on Fridays or whatnot.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I want 2024 to be the year that we get Comic in a Box up and running. Because I often think it's a good short, and it's a short game.
Right.
It's a good social media game because it's short.
Sure.
I don't even bother putting our videos on TikTok anymore because no one's ever going to watch them because they're so long.
Yeah.
TikToks need to be like 10 seconds or less.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I really want Comic in a Box to be a thing, and I think it can be really fun and really funny, and also it could make either of us really mad
Maybe.
depending on the outcome.
Maybe.
Like, I know exactly what I would do if I had the knowledge,
Uh-huh.
but that's why I shouldn't have it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I think it's fun. And maybe we'd switch off who does what, but I think that it's a better game if it's always the same rules. But who knows? We'll work on it later, and I think we should use the decorated boxes just because they look better.
Sure. More visually appealing.
Yeah. Of course, boxes have the handle cut out, so there'd be a temptation to peek in, but I think we can trust ourselves to
I'm
not
sure.
do that. For the integrity of the game, the game's funnier when it's more natural and more forthcoming. I did read the One Hand and the Six Fingers.
Yeah.
Do we talk about this? I know you talked about them. Did I talk about them?
I don't think you did.
I really like them.
Yeah.
I like the cop one better, the One Hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that you should buy just one. I think you really need to buy both of them.
You really do.
They can be read separately. They can be read in either order.
Right.
And you immediately know, once you know they're connected, when you read the first one, you immediately know part of what's happening in the other.
Right.
But you have to.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it is a very clever concept, but it has more going for it than just, this one is about the cop.
Right.
This one is about the killer.
Right.
It's not that.
Yeah, there's more twist to it than just that.
And I like that there's an A and B cover for each book, and the A cover is done by the interior artist of the main book, and the B cover is by the interior artist of the other book.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. It's one of those rare, fresh concepts, and I think that it's a thing that people would enjoy.
Yeah, I hope it's something people give a try. We'll definitely be ordering a bunch of copies of the first 2 number ones, and hopefully we'll get people to try it out. And also keep at it, which is the harder
Definitely the harder part. Going back to my parents for a minute, it's already been all over social media, all over, lighting it up on fire. That what I've been alluding to for weeks is that we now sell a cookbook of my late mother's recipes.
Yes, Fran's Kitchen.
Yeah, and it debuted this week on New Comic Book Wednesday.
Yep.
And sold a bunch already.
We did. It's true. We sold one online today.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to. That person was being given one because they had given a lot of. It was Luke. Luke was one of the few people that knew about it, and I would send him pages, and he would give me design help. And he had expressed interest in getting one, and I told him, "Well, you're just going to get one because he helped. He gave me suggestions."
Instead, he bought one like a jerk.
That I followed, and while we had one aside for him, he did. He just bought one. So that was unexpected.
What a jerk.
I know. How dare you? It's weird to me the number of people that would want to buy them that don't know my mom.
Yeah, but it's a good recipe book, and I think it's
hopefully it's a good recipe book.
Yeah, we'll see. But we sold a bunch on Wednesday, so hopefully
What's your favorite recipe, Dal?
The chicken. There is a recipe just
called
chicken.
It's not even my mom's. It's just one that's in there that she used to make. They are either recipes that my mom always made and that were hers, or ones her friends gave her, and then
I can't wait to see people start bringing finished recipes into the store.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I want people to be doing that.
Yeah.
If you did buy a recipe book and you'd make some of the recipes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, bring some Fran's Kitchen recipes.
It is true that 70% of the book is desserts, but all the really classic.
What if someone brings in the lasagna?
I would love it.
Just on a random Friday.
So
here's
Lago,
the pan of lasagna.
Lago was selling half pans of lasagna for the holidays, and I almost bought one, not for my family, just for me.
Just a half pan, sure.
But I couldn't figure out the timing of going to get it.
Yeah, that's rough.
You could have gone to Guido's house in the Burbs and picked it up, or down to Lago itself.
Jesus.
But yeah, I didn't. And last year I was going to go to Lago for New Year's Eve, but fate had other plans for me last New Year's Eve. And this year New Year's Eve is a Sunday, so they're not open.
No.
So be it.
You're
right. This is a perfect point
end of the year
to thank all of our patrons.
Yeah.
It's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brent Helt, Dal's mom, Diane Bush, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Borin, Philip Sablik from Boom Studios, Jose Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew, Drew Troy Aaliyah, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Brad Brooks from Dumb Shit Done Well, Managed Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, Challengers Reservist Fallon Mackerline, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Holly Aitchison, Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Aw Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Dynamite Perry, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan, Walt's Comic Shop from Berlin, Germany, And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels.
Anything for comics you're particularly excited about coming up in January? We did a front counter flyer for I think February, and we skipped January.
Well, we made one for January, and that was
out.
one that had the one hand and the six fingers crossed over in the middle.
Right.
But we just wound up not putting it up
Because we're at the point where a lot of FOC stuff is already done for January, but we're starting to get like the January books are starting to roll in. Pine and Merrimack's this week.
Pine and Merrimack
Fall of the
for
House of X
for the
this week.
first week of the year is starting the year off so good.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to talk about which graphic novels we picked for our best of the year.
Sure.
Because we want people to
Yeah.
look for that. But I will say that my pick was a Kyle Starks book.
Wow. Good choice.
So the fact that Kyle Starks written book is the first big new release of the year on the first week, out of the park.
Pretty good, yeah.
And is Action 1061 this week?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
I think it's week after.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people are excited about in January, because we are, like, one of the most amazing things to me this week coming up for comics is the dawn of DC branding is done.
Oh.
It was a year-long thing. So the first week of January is like, no. It's weird not seeing it at the top of Birds of Prey, Batman, Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
Are they still doing the oval in the corner with the DC logo, the number, and then the family?
Everything else on the trade dress is the same.
Okay.
They just got rid of that little banner at the top that said Dawn of DC.
I think that the X books had my favorite branding during some of their run, with the way the notches for the barcodes looked. It weren't just space. It was like when you incorporate it into a design element. But I still don't think anybody has the best branding. I think that I want more of an organization that includes the issue number and the credits.
Yeah, I'd like it to be more uniform for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just tough because you could do it like the old days, like 1980s Marvel books, where it's like, here's the corner box, here's the barcode / Spider-Man head box, here's the logo, and we're done. But then it's, you need to shake that up once in a while. You need to have something where it's like, this cover design doesn't benefit from that. It needs to do something else.
Like, they would do fun things with the corner boxes where over a 6-issue Hulk span, it was Banner changing into the Hulk, like Al Milgram did that.
They did. I want to say there was a McFarlane ASM cover where like it's getting crushed.
Yeah,
it's all getting crushed.
I mean, Ed
He's
Hannigan
playing the Hulk. I think when he's Cosmic Spider-Man.
Ed Hannigan was such a good cover artist. He'd always fuck with the logos.
Sure,
he'd always break the logos up or do something. Or that was always somebody who was willing to push that envelope. And it's easier now because they're all digital. It's easier to mess with them.
And I'm glad in general that the industry got away from that real Hickman-esque, lots of white negative space on the covers. That was a thing that he was doing with his books at Image.
Did you not see the designs for all the new Ultimate comics?
Yeah, again, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But like Image is done with that. Like,
okay.
Like creators are doing more colorful covers, more interesting designs.
Hexagon Bridge still does that, though.
It does, but even Hexagon Bridge can almost get away with it because it's like, hey, remember those Hickman written and drawn comics? This is sort of like that. It's evoking that nostalgia. But in general, I think, no one's quite unlocked exactly how everything should go.
Yeah. We haven't scheduled it yet, but I'm assuming I'm going to be doing a podcast with David Harper for Off Panel soon.
You usually do.
Again, he always lists his top 10... like most read articles and his top 10 most listened to podcasts. I came in at number 6.
Whoa, congrats.
And I was in the top 10. I don't remember if he did. I don't remember seeing last year's, but the year before that I was as well.
That's great.
And it's weird to me. And I feel like I really need to step it up this year. But one of the questions...
Break some news, man.
What's that?
Break some news.
Well, I actually have done some research and I have things that I have And the first thing I'm going to do when we record is take my earrings out.
Because they clang around.
Because last year, he's like, "What is that noise?" I'm like, "What noise?" He's like, "There's like are you ringing a bell?" I'm like, "No, I'm just walking around the store." He's like, "There's something that's," and I'm like, "Oh, hold on, I got to take my earrings out, David." But
because they knock against your headphones?
Because it's just the AirPods.
Right. So
Yeah.
they just knock against like the stalk of the AirPod.
And I don't hear that.
No, why would you?
But one question he always asks me is, what am I looking forward to in comics in the new year? Mm-hmm. And for the last 2 years, my answer has been something they haven't announced yet.
Probably, yeah. I mean, we're it's interesting because we're out to March, I think, with the new catalog.
Yeah.
And while there's definitely stuff there, again, like all of the wrap up of the Krakoan era X-Men stuff, the launch of all the Ultimate Universe stuff, other stuff from Marvel is like the Blood Hunt summer event that's coming up. I don't know what DC's got. More Jason Aaron stuff.
So DC's
Joker Year One.
Big three things for the year are the Batman storyline, the Wonder Woman storyline, and I forget the third one, but all three of them are Amanda Waller stories. Right. Their big thing is making her the big bad of the DCU.
Yeah, which we talked about. I'm not a fan of it. I think it misses the point of the Amanda Waller character. But that's fine, whatever. One of the things I think I'm most interested in this year from Marvel and DC comic books is Marvel and DC don't really have any movies out. I mean, Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
And that's it. Which means there is not that usual weird warping gravity within Marvel and DC to suddenly put out books for characters that have a movie out.
Is Deadpool 3 the May release?
Yeah, it's the only Marvel movie
next
year.
But I mean, there's always a movie around Free Comic Book Day. Is that it?
I guess it's going to be then, yeah.
Huh.
But like, DC for like a year put Black Adam in everything. Because it's like, Black Adam's got a movie coming out. Yeah. And then basically as soon as the Black Adam movie came out and everyone realized, hey, Black Adam's not that interesting a character, he doesn't really show up in anything. He's in Shazam, where he should be.
Well, but what about if he turns into a giant lion?
And then gets punched in the face by Starfire. So yeah, without needing to, validate a Thunderbolts comic or whatever.
Did you read Flash 4?
I did, yes.
They dismissed Beast Wars in one sentence.
I don't even think I noticed that sentence.
It was just, well, it's been a week since...
everyone was an animal?
Yeah. That was it.
That's great. Grant Morrison had a fun take on the John Byrne written Genesis crossover, where it was a month-long event and it happened between issues of JLA.
Yeah.
So literally the end of one issue is like, oh no, we gotta go do Genesis. And the beginning of the next issue is, well, Genesis is over. He was not interested in participating in that crossover event.
But just, sure. Going back to Flash for a second, and again, I can't remember if I talked about this, but I think what Cy Spurrier is doing on Flash is revolutionary.
It's very good. Revolutionary, I think, is maybe overstating it for me because it's basically just Grant Morrison's Animal Man.
Well,
like it's very much in that vein.
You didn't say Alan Moore's Swamp Thing?
No.
Okay.
They use Swamp Thing as the touchstone a lot more.
Yeah.
I get it. I see why. And you could absolutely make the argument that Animal Man itself is a reaction to what Alan Moore was doing with Swamp Thing. That's completely valid. But the way it's coming about it and the things it's trying to do is very like, this is the Buddy Baker stuff. Like, this is... Wally West is Buddy Baker now. And that's cool, and I don't mind it. Like, I don't think it's bad for being that. Everything exists in conversation with the books that came before it. That's just how a shared universe and a giant global behemoth like DC works. It's fine.
I just think that, because I've been reading Flash since Carrie Bates and Carmen Infantino.
Sure. Yeah.
And the Trial of the Flash.
I remember. We talked about it.
And this is, like, since the innovation of the Speed Force, this is the biggest, not change, but biggest...
It's almost
concept.
Working in a completely different genre than it was before.
Yeah, and the difference is that since the Speed Force, everybody who came since then worked in that or added to it,
Right.
but he's going in a completely different direction.
Correct.
And for somebody who was like, I don't know about Mike Deodato on the Flash, perfect fit
Yeah,
for what they're doing.
And that's the thing is once you realize what the book is going to be, Deodato is a great fit. He would not be a great fit for like Jeremy Adams' Flash book or Josh Williamson's Flash book or Brian Buccella's Flash book. Like those are all more standard superhero things, and he would not be the good kinetic movement artist for that story. But Flash is now less about running and more about being still.
The absence of running. Running your mind.
So yeah, in general, like it's hard to say what there is to be excited about in 2024 because most stuff is not. New projects are not announced necessarily this far out. Like things that we would maybe know about would be, someone's follow up to something. Like I think the last Amulet is coming out.
Yes.
In 2024.
Yeah.
But it's like.
And I'm just real curious to see how many people are still going to care.
We still sell Amulet on a decent basis. So,
Yeah.
But it's not going to sell like Heartstopper 5 sells. No.
Again, I don't think my nephew, who loved that series, who is now a high school algebra teacher, is as invested in it as he was when it came out.
Probably not looking for the conclusion of that storyline, no.
Yeah.
I think it'll continue to sell well, and I think it's a perennial in the same way that Bone is. But yeah, there's definitely an audience there that has completely aged out of the audience for that book.
It's not the, like, oh my god, let's order 50 copies to start with.
No, I would maybe order significantly fewer, and then keep ordering it forever.
Heartbreaker is, since you brought it up,
Heartstopper.
You should have just shaken your head.
Well, take care.
Dreammaker. Don't you mess around with me. I was talking about a whole different book. Why did you, what were you talking about?
Who knows?
So Volume 5 came out.
Yes, finally.
Heartstopper?
Heartstopper.
Okay.
Yep.
But here's this is a thing that I kind of hate about comics right now. We ordered it from Diamond because it's not available through the other distributors we use.
It is and it isn't.
Well,
it's just people we would not normally do initial orders from.
Yeah, and also I think we need to move away from that. I say this knowing I just placed an order for a book for me from Ingram. Mm-hmm. We really need to move away from them as much as we can because their discount is garbage.
I wouldn't say garbage. It's not good, and there's better ones. But the thing that makes it difficult to move completely away from them is that they aggregate from a lot of publishers that we would have a difficult time doing separate orders for.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point of Ingram, is that we can do a decently sized order that includes HarperCollins and Scholastic and Macmillan and people that we don't have direct accounts with.
Right now,
if we separated those out, it's like we would do a Macmillan order every 2 months.
Yeah. Right now, Brian Hibbs, who is definitely not listening to this, would be screaming at us to have accounts with all those people.
We've thought about it. I mean,
Yeah.
we almost did one with Scholastic, and we in a sense we really should. But one of the problems is, again, just we like for kids comics, for Sidekicks graphic novels, we are not selling 80% of our volume in that category in Scholastic. We're selling like 30%. It's spread out a lot more for us between them and Abrams and HarperCollins and For Second and other smaller publishers. If we were more like, if it was 6 years ago where we were doing everything Scholastic or, a tiny portion of For Second, then fine, sure. But it's so diversified now that it's harder for us to do a single publisher. Like we have an account with Hachette, and Hachette is Seven Seas and Abrams and a few other things. We only do Hachette orders like every 6 to 8 weeks because it is difficult to hit the minimums at which we would start getting a decent discount for it. As opposed to companies like Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, where we do them every week. Diamond, which doesn't have minimums because it just goes with their weekly stuff, so we just put stuff in whenever. Even Lunar's the same way. So, like, Ingram slots in alongside that with, like, here's the stuff we can't source anywhere else. It's not a great discount, but it's also not a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's just one of the realities of the current market.
Sure.
But because we ordered all of our Hard Eyes Volume 5 through Diamond, that was a joke. I did that one on purpose.
I didn't correct you.
Because we ordered all of our Heartstopper through Diamond, we got them a week after release date.
Correct.
Which kind of sucks.
Yeah, especially because the week after the release date turned out to be the Tuesday after Christmas.
Yeah.
Where it's like, boy, it would have been nice to have that the last week before Christmas when people
But
need a
then,
gift for the holidays.
So many books that we order, or so many independent books that we get from Lunar, we get a week after Diamond gets them.
Yeah, I had not realized that stuff like Scout or
AWA,
Ahoy, it's all like a week after. And it's like, why is that happening? Like, I know why it's happening, but I don't know why it hasn't gotten standardized in the sense of like, why has Lunar not asked for parity with Diamond or whatever? Because do you remember that one dumb email we got where like Lunar got Diamond got a book before Lunar or something, or vice versa, and then the alternate distributor was like, hey, you can't put it out yet.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you're not the one to tell me that.
A book we got from Lunar that Diamond didn't get, we had a hold until Diamond got it.
Right.
Books that Diamond gets before Lunar, everybody gets those first, and we get ours a week later.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the non-parity part of it.
Yeah, it's not great. You would assume that stuff like that's being sold from multiple distributors would have a unified street date. Apparently it does not, which is frustrating and weird, and I've been told that that's largely a factor of the dumb DC Sunday FOC stuff. So that would be nice if that changed in 2024.
And then, now that Diamond has individual shipping reporting, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't by box, they just have it by order. We were trying to find out what a box of T-folds cost. T-folds are also known as Gemini mailers, depending on who you buy them from.
Just a piece of cardboard you fold around a comic and ship it that way.
But it's one flat piece.
It's
that's
shipping
perforated
supply.
in.
Yeah.
But trying to figure out what a case of those goes for, because we know what a case costs, but we don't know we get charged shipping for it, and that could be up to double the price.
Correct.
The cost is what I mean. So just before this recording, we were both looking to find out, okay, the last one we got was on the December 22nd invoice. So we go to the December 22nd Diamond shipping manifest, and we found out, okay, we paid, I don't know, $57.82 for all 6 boxes combined. And then when you click each box, like, what's in this box? Click this one. All these comics. What's in these other 5 boxes? Unavailable.
Nothing. Who knows? Okay, great. We know how much it weighed. Don't know exactly what was in there.
Right. So we have no idea. We still don't know the specific breakdown. Sometimes you do. Well, when a box was sent separately.
Right.
But now that everything comes the same way.
Now that we just pick up boxes from a hub, we just get charged an amount for that entire pile of boxes because they're not being shipped individually through UPS. But they're still very expensive. Almost ridiculously expensive. Like when you look at what you're paying at Penguin Random House, at Simon & Schuster, at Ingram, at nearly any place else we get books from, Diamond is hideously expensive to get books shipped. Like, insanely expensive. Which is why a lot of the stuff that we can source from other places, we do source from other places because Diamond shipping is insane.
Cost prohibitive. Someone did an analysis, again, they do this often, and it's just, it hurts my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, Lunar charges basically 20 cents a pound for books, and Diamond charges like $1.38 per pound.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the minor amount of stuff that we get in a weekly shipment from Diamond, the idea that we're paying up close to $60 a week in shipping is ludicrous.
But this is after their 2 separate 2023 shipping reductions.
That is literally thousands of dollars a year in shipping when we pay $0 in shipping from Penguin Random House.
That's true.
$0 a year.
Handling, however, it's
oh my god, the handling fees, white glove service. Patrick, this is the thing that I think about usually at the end of the year and going into the new year.
When do we sell?
No.
When do we cash in our insurance?
No. Do you have any comics related resolutions for yourself for the next year?
No.
Nothing that you do differently about your comic reading or your comic collecting or your comic experience?
Not that I'd put in resolution form.
No.
Like, I want to catch up on a lot of stuff.
Sure. I think that
I
counts.
hope I do that.
That counts.
I didn't last year.
No, but
I got
I mean,
further
it's
behind.
still a thing you can think about going into the new year.
I would love to go through all the boxes of that collection I got back
Yeah.
a year and a half ago that I have not touched.
Uh-huh. It'll be warm soon.
Also, personally, I want to get rid of every single thing I own.
Everything, huh? That was
Yeah.
quick.
I mean, after spending 2 days emptying out a very, very small apartment, that I just look around at the room we're recording in the podcastatorium, and I just can't do this to whoever's left.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a way of looking at your collection. The things you enjoy is a burden to survivors. I guess that's a way to go.
Isn't everything about your life a burden to survivors?
I'm not going to be around. I'm not going to care.
Man, that's what that called. It's called a burden to survivors.
I'm not going to care. I absolutely...
You should care.
I don't. Selfish that way. I definitely vacillate between...
If you die first, you'll hear about it.
I look forward to the call from the to the afterlife. I definitely vacillate between in individual collections wanting to pare down versus like trying to find enjoyment in what I have. Like I definitely look at my graphic novels and occasionally think, I don't need this series. I don't need these books. I could use less of them. And then other times it's like, no, like actually sit down and read them. Like reread these things. Like re-experience, and sometimes for the first time.
But you're not gonna
these books
because there's unwatched Kamen Rider calling to you.
Yeah, but not as much as there used to be. Now it's just weekly episodes. But there's always other stuff.
You know, if you count Australia, New Zealand,
I never count them, but go on.
Two British series, and the specials,
Uh-huh.
there's at least 41 episodes of Taskmaster a year out of 52 weeks.
Wow.
Like, that is just an embarrassment of riches.
It is. And yet
There's a new one in a couple of days.
and you're not even, like, this isn't like an AEW thing where they're burning you out.
No. Because I watch them at my leisure.
Sure.
Like, I'm not...
You don't have to watch a new one every week. You can save them up.
Yeah.
Sometimes past the point where people at the store who want to talk to you about the
Yeah,
finale...
I finished that season, okay? I still have a couple episodes
anxious to talk
of
about the
most
final task,
recent
and you're
New
like, I
Zealand.
haven't watched it yet.
That hotel task was real good.
I'm glad it lived up to the hype.
Yeah. Alex got to be a guest at a Taskmaster hotel, and he was very demanding.
I would hope. He earned it.
people running the hotel didn't know where the rooms were.
Okay. That's going to be a problem.
Yes, and he had laundry to do, he had a big presentation, he had a specific lunch he wanted. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty great.
Nice.
What a good show. And I just got to see the Big Fat Quiz of the Year for the end of this year. It was on the 26th.
Okay.
It's on YouTube now.
Uh-huh.
Mel Gidroich and Richard Iwata were a team.
I heard.
Rosie Jones and Catherine Ryan.
Great.
And Kevin Bridges, who I love and don't see enough of, and Mo Gilligan were the third team.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Good lineup.
Good stuff. I don't think Kevin Bridges tours America, and I know a lot of people have a hard time deciphering his accent.
Oh.
I do not.
Well, you're more learned that way.
Maybe if I make it to Ireland in the fall,
Early.
maybe he'll be on tour in his own country.
Or maybe he'll just be out shopping and you'll see him and you'll go, hey.
Yeah, or maybe he'll be in America and I'll find out the night of and it'll
That
be
he's
sold
DJing.
out. Yeah, maybe he's DJing at Radius. I hear.
I guess just get on the Radius mailing list, I guess.
I would never have thought she'd be at Radius. Also, Radius is not a club that people say good things about.
No? I
It's
don't
newer,
expect I'll ever have that
It's
experience.
a warehouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna be disappointed, but also, man, do I not want to go out to a 1:00 show when I got to work the next day?
You do not. and late December in Chicago.
At least it's not freezing cold out.
I mean, you usually wear your mesh shirt to clubs, so I mean that's just a problem with the weather.
Well, usually I leave my coat in the car.
Yeah,
but I couldn't do it tonight. I'd have to. Yeah, man, how did I not know she was here?
that is weird. Like you feel like if she was going to a different country to DJ, she would probably say that on like Instagram, like, "Hey, I'm going to a different country to DJ.
Well, not only did
Please
I
come
not
out
know,
to the club if you're in the US."
She tagged Radius in her post,
Uh-huh.
but I went to their social media page, and it didn't say. I had to then go to their website because she's one of 8 people for tonight, so
Right.
they've just really pushed the main
headliner,
act,
yeah.
and not mentioned Scotland's own Ariel Free. Mm-hmm. Huh. And I definitely would have tried to get her to come to the store.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe since she's DJing Friday night, maybe she'll stop in the store on Saturday.
She did all of her touristy stuff today.
This isn't touristy stuff, Patrick. This is an important thing she does for a friend.
That's true. She did tell me she was going to try to make it to Chicago, but that was like 3 years ago.
She made it to Chicago.
Yeah.
She fulfilled her end of the bargain.
Oh, my God.
That's it for 2023. What a bummer.
I know. Man, it is.
Patrick, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It's a weird thing to know certain close friends of yours are not on specific platforms
Okay.
and will not have heard news.
Sure. I never hear any news. I'm not on any platform.
Yeah, but it's not the kind of thing that you want to message a friend and say, "Hey, you didn't hear this. Here's the news." Not you didn't hear this like it's secret. I mean, hey, you wouldn't have heard this anywhere else. Let me tell you this thing. Mm-hmm. And it's weird because as your friends, they would definitely want to know.
Right.
But as their friend, you have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird... It's weird to take information that is difficult and then just, like, blurt it out, essentially.
Yeah, so
Like, how
my
do you
tactic
broach that subject?
was alluding to it in a post
Right.
and letting people infer.
Right.
And then knowing that there's a big cross-section that follow other members of my family that would get it all there.
Right.
And little by little, it's been trickling in. Mm-hmm. Even on vacation in Florida, Gina messaged me, and Lizzie in California, she messaged me. Mm-hmm. And like Alexis, the same. Mm-hmm. But I had to be like, Sam, you wouldn't have seen this.
Sure. Did you put it in her Twitch chat?
I would have to go to Twitch to do that. I don't have a Twitch account. Yeah, I think she was twitching dating sims.
Twitching.
What do you call it?
Just streaming on Twitch.
Twitching.
I don't think you call it.
Why don't you call it twitching? Twitching.
Honest to God, maybe they do. Maybe they do
Yeah,
call it twitching.
fair.
Maybe I'm that out of touch. Do you want to hear Nigel McGuinness, Tony Schiavone, and Kevin Kelly all tried to define Riz? Is that how you want to? That what you want this podcast to be?
I do want to hear more about the clam digger Brian Danielson.
Brittle Brian. Nigel McGuinness and his long-running feud, not feud, on commentary with Brian Danielson is maybe reaching a point where it needs to kind of not be a thing for a while, because Nigel McGuinness is at his best when he gets like one good one in an episode, when you're not expecting it. But when it becomes like the entirety of his performance for 2 hours, and when he's definitely coming in with prepared bits that he needs the other two guys
to set up
to like ask him about and further, then it's like, no. When it overwrites calling the matches, it's in the way. Don't do that. It's too much then, Nigel.
Well, Nigel's trying really hard to get a comeback match in against Brian Danielson.
Maybe that should be Danielson's final match. Versus Nigel McGuinness on Collision.
Maybe.
With special guest referee Christian Cage. Oh, wait, no, his final match is probably going to be at, like, All In.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
yeah.
my God, Nigel McGuinness in front of, like, 60,000
Hometown crowd.
Wembley fans?
89,000, thank you.
We'll see what happens.
Earlier this episode, I'd said that we were going to call this one A Burden to Survivors. which I was referencing you.
I know, but bleak.
But also, in the grander context, I feel like it may be misconstrued.
It has a certain emotional payload that was maybe unintentional.
Especially since of what I was thinking of using for the images for this episode. I need to reevaluate.
Or maybe you've just forced your own hand.
There's occasionally times where the episode headline does not match the image, nor should it.
Doesn't need to.
Yeah, but I don't want anyone reading into anything else.
Yeah.
To be clear, the burden to survivors is Dow.
Yeah. Yes.
That in the context of what we were talking about
Yes.
before.
Or my life as lived.
Not my father. I have a tiny little thing prepared for next week,
Oh, okay.
and I don't think it's going to go over well,
Oh, great.
which is more the reason to do it.
Yay.
So that's the cliffhanger. This is actually
Ooh.
technically being... It's technically the first episode of the new year because it'll go out late Sunday night,
Sure.
but its technical release date is Monday.
That's true.
So we're putting the Patreons in for January this episode, but we recorded it days before the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't know if the year's even going to roll over. Maybe it doesn't. Who
Yeah.
knows? Anything can happen in the next couple days.
But next week's will be the official first one of the new year.
24. I'm very excited to see how quickly Image graphic novels are on Simon & Schuster's website. I feel like I'm going to be ordering from 3 distributors for at least a little while for Image.
Yep. Is that the one thing you're looking forward to in 2024, comic-wise?
I mean, look, if Simon & Schuster has Image stuff and they stock it in as well as they stock things like Viz, yes, I'm excited about that. On the other hand, if they pack it as well as they pack Viz, less excited.
One more mystery that will be revealed in 2024. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.